Welcome back. Two great segments, my friend Jim Lebenthal and my great friend Dan Mahaffey, along with all of you folks. Thanks so much for being with us. Thousands more than we had at the beginning of the year. That's pretty cool in season 7 of the FarrCast. We're grateful for that here at Thanksgiving, I assure you. Markets still trading near all-time highs. Stocks up 20% on the year. A lot to be grateful for there. Couple of weird things going on out in the market. Huge beat in earnings for NVIDIA. Stock's flat. It's been on a tear this year. Absolutely amazing. Keep an eye on some of these Magnificent Seven stocks. They're still pulling the market train, and they are a powerful locomotive. Sam Altman is back at OpenAI. You talk about just the most embarrassing public display of ineptitude and bumbling bravado on the part of a just really borderline qualified board. Really? Nobody does anything like that. You can't do that. And he's back, and his team is back, and they're going to push AI and ChatGPT, OpenAI, and backed, of course, by something like a $13 billion investment from Microsoft. So it's been amazing to watch this public display of a train wreck, and he's back, and the board is gone. So you are accountable, and it's very important to have a qualified board, folks, a really qualified, experienced business board. I think what we saw, very important, we saw a board make an emotional decision. I think we saw them persuaded by one very powerful personality, and they made an emotional decision. They got all whipped up, and he was saying, we've got to do this, and here's why, and here are the consequences, and there's no choices. And he kept talking, and he increased the pitch, and he increased the volume, and he increased the fervor, and we've got to go. And they went. Shame on them. Shame on them. So coming into Thanksgiving here, the yield on the 10-year Treasury is falling again. The Fed is on the sidelines, and there we go. At the end of my segment with my friend Jim Lebenthal, I mentioned treasure, and I just like to tell you how grateful I am for so many things in my life, and I want to tell you what I treasure. And I use that word treasure, and in the New Testament, and it comes from, not really in my head, but from the Gospel of Luke, and it's the King James edition, because it's much more poetic. It uses all the these and thous. I love all the these and thous. It's just so much more poetic. I understand it's less accessible, but I think the language is beautiful. You know that Robert Frost said, if you didn't want to take the time to structure a poem and add verse to your poem, you didn't really care enough about what you were saying. And I always like that, because there is a melody in a poem that should reinforce the message of the poem. And it can be a very staccato kind of a difficult meter in poetry for a difficult message, and it can really be lovely and enticing. Even seductive in romantic poetry, the meter, the rhythm. This is from the King James. Whether in heaven or in earth, there will your heart be also. The heart is always set upon the treasure, and as is a man's treasure, such is his heart. That is, set upon it. If his treasure is only here, and he has not the true riches, his heart is only earthly and carnal. But if his treasure is heavenly, and his heart and conversation, then his heart and conversation will be in heaven. So where is your treasure? And I think about the relationships in my life. I've been very fortunate, ladies and gentlemen. When I graduated from college, when I got out of Sewanee, I had a job teaching high school English at Pomfret School in Connecticut. And I had, it was somewhere like $1,100 or $1,200 in savings. And I didn't have any debt from my education, because my father, God bless him and keep him, who turned 98, a couple of weeks ago. Dad turned 98. He's doing pretty well. He took out loans. He took out loans to pay for my college. And there I went off to teach. And I made $10,500 a year plus room and board to teach 11th and 12th grade English and coach baseball, and basically worked 24/7 at a boarding school in Connecticut. And I thought I was the luckiest guy on earth. And I loved it. I had money for beer and gas. I could get on a plane for $300 and go somewhere every so often. Life was good. Life was good. 23-year-old single guy, feeling pretty important to be Mr. Farr and teaching Shakespeare. That was really cool. Pretty heady days for the 23-year-old. I never imagined the life and the family that I have been so fortunate to have. And I have now, ladies and gentlemen, treasure. I have wealth. It's wonderful. And it is not where my heart is. It adds certainly to the quality and comfort of my life. But what I care about are my dear friends and my family and the people I love. When I sit and visit with people, when I sit and talk and hear the stories of other people's lives, and this is a privilege that I have in managing money. It's one of the things I love about it. I learn about people's families. I learn about their careers. And when you're managing people's money, they call you and they say, we have an illness. There's a problem at the company. We're going to sell the company. I had a grandchild. My father passed away. I've inherited some money and I don't care about it because I'm so sad. My husband passed away and I've never dealt with money before. Can you help me here? Great privilege is spending those moments, those so important moments with other people at their important moments, to share in those moments of humanity and to be there and help and support and to share and to grieve and to share the pain as well as those joys of those new grandchildren and college graduations. And I sold my company and all of those other things. And we just had a marvelous trip. And you know, some of the most touching moments in my life lately, I've heard from a couple of students, former students, it's been 40 years since I taught, who have sent me notes and have picked up the phone and called me after 35 years and said, you know what, Mr. Farr, you made a difference. And I want to tell you what I was thinking about the other day about you. 40 years later, I can't even imagine it. But do you know what a great gift that is to me? And to remember those people as they were children. I don't know if you do this, folks, but when I am remembering a classmate from high school or from college, somebody says, do you remember that girl when we were in high school? Yes. And I'll stop and think, yes, I remember her. And when you remember them at 17 or 18. I would probably not, I'd walk by them on the street today, right? I wouldn't recognize these people who look as elderly as I do. It's such a tragedy. We're not, but that's the person I remember. And that's a person, what a gift, right? To know somebody that long, to have that history, recognizing that not only do they not look like that, they're not like that on the inside anymore. And almost all of them have grown and developed and matured and mellowed a bit with age. I sure as hell hope I've mellowed with age. Some of those sharp corners have been knocked off or beaten off or clipped off by me when recognized by me. That's a little bit harder, isn't it? But these are the treasures of my life. These are the relationships. Here's where I find meaning. So we protect people's physical treasure so that they have that insurance policy and can be kept safe and bulletproof from those financial threats. That's what we do. We offer financial security, maybe not. Sometimes we have marvelous performance. Sometimes we don't. Overall, we keep things moving in the right direction and we make sure that folks are okay. And that they're okay as best as we can so that they can enjoy the treasures of their life, which I hope will never be monetary, I treasure you. I treasure my family. Laurie and I are coming up on our 35th wedding anniversary. What a treasure that is. What a treasure that is, to be married for 35 years. My children are now in their 30s. What a treasure and blessing they are. I still have my dad at 98 years old. Harry Jennings, our producer, was a student in my dormitory at St. Andrew's, Sewanee in 1982. 1982. Harry and I have known one another most of our lives. What a great blessing. My partners and friends at Farr, Miller in Washington. If you're starting to get bored, I'll stop, because the list goes on and on and on, and I am that blessed. So on this Thanksgiving, please know that I am offering thanks to each and every one of you and to everybody in my life, and for the great gift of the talents and abilities that I have been given to provide care and support so that you can enjoy your treasure and I can enjoy mine, and we can build a little bit of it together. I look forward to building more treasure with you in the next couple of weeks and certainly the next few years. If we can ever be helpful, please reach out and give us a ring. Send Harry an email, hjennings@farrmiller.com. We'll be here for you. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. For Farr, Miller in Washington, the FarrCast and Hightower Advisors, with a very grateful heart, I'm Michael Farr.
Thank you for joining us on this special Thanksgiving segment of the FarrCast. For the complete episode and to subscribe to our weekly podcast, we can be found on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and all major podcast platforms. The FarrCast is produced by Michael Farr and Harry Jennings. If you have any questions about the show or would like more information on Farr, Miller in Washington and Hightower Advisors and the services we provide, please email me at hjennings@farrmiller.com. Thank you from all of us at the FarrCast, Farr, Miller in Washington, and Hightower Advisors. We hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and holiday season. We'll be back with you next week on the FarrCast, Wall Street, Washington, and the world. Farr, Miller in Washington is a group comprised of investment professionals registered with Hightower Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Some investment professionals may also be registered with Hightower Securities, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities, LLC. All information referenced herein is from sources believed to be reliable. Farr, Miller in Washington and Hightower Advisors, LLC have not independently verified the accuracy or completeness of the information contained in this podcast. Farr, Miller in Washington and Hightower Advisors, LLC and any of its affiliates make no representations or warranties, expressed or implied, as to the accuracy or completeness of the information or for statements or errors or omissions or results obtained from the use of this information. Farr, Miller in Washington and Hightower Advisors, LLC and any of its affiliates assume no liability for any action made or taken in reliance on or relating in any way to the information. This podcast and the materials contained herein were created for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed are solely those of the authors and do not represent those of Hightower Advisors, LLC or any of its affiliates. Farr, Miller in Washington and Hightower Advisors, LLC or any of its affiliates do not provide tax or legal advice. This material was not intended or written to be used or presented in any way to any entity as tax or legal advice. Clients are urged to consult their tax and or legal advisors for related questions.